Before I start with my remarks, I wanted to say a special word of thanks to John Hope Bryant. Would you join me in giving him a round of applause? So in addition to starting this amazing organization that has transformed lives and helped communities, John and I met more than a decade ago when he came to the Treasury Department and told then Secretary Lew and myself the story of the Freedmen's Bank, of its failure, but also about the ways in which we could use that failure as an opportunity to teach important lessons about the promise that America still had to make to those that deserved more and were given less. And with his help and with your former mayor's help, we renamed the Freedmen's Forum building in Washington, D.C. at his urging, and created a forum at the Treasury Department that happens on an annual basis in which we have an opportunity to remember the legacy of the Freedmen's Bank, but also to think about the ways in which we can invest in hope, invest in communities, and help us grow an economy that works for all Americans. So I'm happy to be here today with you because, like all of you, I believe there truly is a case for optimism in America because of the American people, because of the work that you do, because of the importance the important things that we are doing to make sure that we grow an American economy that works for everyone. Before I talk about where we are and where we're going, I want us to take a moment and just remember where we came from. The point I would make is that just a few years ago, when the president took office, a gathering like this one would have been impossible. It would have been impossible for us to be sitting in a room together, being able to talk together about the progress we want to make as a country, because on a daily basis, when the president took office, 3,000 Americans were dying. 3,000 of our fellow citizens were dying from a disease that was uncontrolled in this country. 15% unemployment. Our children weren't learning. We faced a crisis of global proportions and a pandemic that was, at that point, uncontrolled. It was because of an American company working with a German company that the first vaccine to face this pandemic was discovered, American innovation. It was because of people like you that small businesses around this country got access to the money they needed to stay open, to keep people employed. American determination. And today, we are in the midst of a historic small business boom, not only because of those investments, but the investments we've continued to make. And there's work that we need to continue doing, but we wouldn't be here but for the grit and determination of the American people and the investments that were made by our government. But many of those investments flowed through the institutions in this room. The bank loan officers who made sure that that small business that was having trouble getting access to PPP finally got access. That was the time of the determination that was necessary to make sure that we were able to make it through the pandemic. And we not only made it through the pandemic, but as somebody who, as part of my job, I travel the world, I have to tell you that America made it through better than any other country, any of our peers and our competitors, but we had more work to do. But just at that moment when we were making it through the pandemic, Russia launched the largest war in Europe since World War II. And while the brunt of Russia's aggression was felt and continues to be felt by the brave Ukrainian people, Russia's war led to higher oil prices, which led to higher gas prices. It led to higher food costs. And the damage that Russia did to Ukraine was also damage that they did to the global economy that we're still dealing with. But America has been better positioned to deal with that than any other country as well. We've seen the president use the strategic oil reserve to help lower the cost of gas in this country. But in addition to trying to lower the cost of gas today, and it's down 40% from its peak, He's also made investments in clean energy, because we know that ultimately our future, because of climate change, but also our energy security, is tied to the idea of us being able to make clean energy investments in this country. And over the first year of the Inflation Reduction Act, we've seen those investments go not only to the communities that have always gotten those type of investment dollars, but they've gone to communities that have often been left out and left behind. For example, just here in Georgia, 91% of the Inflation Reduction Act dollars, the money that's gone towards building manufacturing facilities and hiring new workers, have gone to communities with below medium hourly wages. 86% of those dollars have gone to communities where the average college graduation rate is below the national average. This money is going into communities where it's needed to help unlock potential and create opportunity, not just for rural and urban communities, but for all Americans to help grow our economy. And as part of this, our goal is to make sure that each one of those Americans who are given these opportunities to get jobs that pay well, to help grow their economy, also have access to the type of financial education and financial opportunity that is critical to being able to create opportunities and economic success for their families. We have a lot of work to do here in America, but we're starting from a strong place because of the grit and determination of the American people, because of the work of people like you, and what the president is focused on, as he says so well, is giving the American people a hand up, not a handout, to help us make sure that we're building the type of economy that works for everyone. That's why we're making investments like the bipartisan infrastructure law that's going to allow us to make sure that every American has access to high-speed internet. I like to repeat the fact that 1 in 5 rural households today doesn't have access to high-speed internet. Rural America is in need of investments, and that's exactly what we're doing through the bipartisan infrastructure law, where we're making investments in making sure that high-speed internet not only gets to urban communities that have been left out, but also to rural communities that have been left out. The Inflation Reduction Act, the money there, again, is money that's going to be used to make sure that we transform the economy into a clean energy economy, but we're not going to do it in a way that leaves people out, but rather brings people in, including in communities that have been traditional energy communities, as well as in urban and rural communities as well. And then finally, the CHIPS and Science Act, which is going to allow us to build semiconductors here at home, is going to lead to manufacturing jobs here in America as well. I'm optimistic about America, not only because of these investments, but because of the American people, who have proven to be innovative and to be determined despite the challenges we face. And I know that we are going to be in many ways driven by the important work that you do to make sure that those American people have access to the information they need to build financial futures. And that's why I'm here today, to both celebrate the progress we've made, but to talk to you about the ways that we can work together to make sure that America does what we've done for generation after generation after generation, which is build innovative, successful companies here at home that create jobs for Americans, and to do it in a way that brings more people in. So I want to thank you today for the hard work that you're doing, for the opportunity to be here, for the way that you are optimistically helping to lead this country forward, and I look forward to being your partner in that. Thank you for having me.
Here you go again. Oh, he's from the government. He's here to help us. Okay, look, good morning. Let me help you out here. We're the largest economy in the world. $22 trillion a year. We're the sole superpower in the world. Others want to be us. There is a Secretary of the Treasury, and the Treasury Department is the only federal building connected to the White House. The most important address, arguably, in the world. and the first person of color, the first African, the first black person ever in the history of America to be Deputy Secretary, number 2, on the most important economy and arguably the most relevant country in the world is Wally Adeyemo. And it gets better. So you wake up in the morning and you say, I don't like what Putin is doing. I don't like what these terrorists are doing. I don't like what our country is not doing to fight back. What you don't know is in the building that is called the Freedmen's Bank building, which I'm giving credit for, by the way, to get the government to rename through Secretary Jack Lew. By the way, that wouldn't have happened without him. I'll get to that in a moment. But what you don't know is I can't go in the building that I helped to get renamed, because that's where we do our financial espionage, our financial, that's where our financial security is managed through. I can't go in the building. It's a completely secure building. It used to be called a Treasury Annex building. That's where they do all of the sanctions for Putin, all of the sanctions for these rogue dictators. All of that is done in that former Treasury Annex building, now called the Freedmen's Bank building. And the man in charge of that he was an advisor at that point to Secretary Jack Lew under the Obama administration. I came to this crazy idea. I wanted to inspire the renaming of the Freedmen's Bank building. I was walked out by lawyers, walked out by security. I was told, who do you think you are? I'm just God's child and an American citizen, and I think I have a right to a voice. They said, but you're not a senator, you're not a congressman, you're not a governor. Who do you think you are? How do you think you can rename a federal building? You need to go through Congress. You got to go through the Historical Society. I said, just try. If you don't try, I'll never leave. But the one person who listened to me, the one person in the government who said, hold on, let's hear his case, who walked me into the office of the Secretary of the Treasury, and he was the advisor, and said, let's listen to him, and told the attorneys, why don't you try? The attorneys come back and say, you know, it's odd. We went and checked the books, Mr. Secretary. You can do this administratively. I then turn to the Secretary of the Treasury and say, well, you can't tell me that the Treasury Annex building is a sexier name than the Freedmen's Bank building. And he said, I think I'll rename it. None of that would have happened. It was 2015 and 2016. I think I'm the only American citizen ever to inspire the renaming of a building on the White House campus. I'm honored by that. But without this man, none of it would have happened. He walks around humbly. He doesn't bring attention to himself. He's going to walk on the stage and you would not have had a clue. I'm telling you, he's one of the most powerful people in the world. When he walks in a room anywhere in the world, people tremble. Bad people around the world know that their money's going to get cut off. They tremble. They're not concerned about the Secretary of Defense. They're concerned about the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury. I am giving him the Hope Award because he's a bad brother. I love you.